Welcome to Dementia AIR, a content channel devoted solely to exploring topics related to dementia. Dementia AIR is a production of Beyond Dementia Coalition, a not-for-profit 501c3 which seeks to reduce stigma and help all of us not only recognize but also accept, assist, and embrace people living with dementia as valued and beloved members of the community. See the person beyond the disease. Hello, everyone. With me today is Gerry Roth, the author of 24/7 Caregiver, the everyday battle with Alzheimer's. Welcome, Gerry, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you for inviting me.
So, for the audience, you should know this is the sixth in a series of interviews with Gerry Roth. Today, we explore the dynamic intersection of trust and patience, where caregivers and recipients meet in a deeply personal and often emotional exchange. So I thought I'd start by reading on the topic of trust from Cloud Conrad's book, The Dementia Field Guide. And I'm going to be reading from page 59 for those of you that are interested. And I think, by the way, the Dementia Field Guide is a great resource for caregivers, whether they be formal or informal unpaid caregivers. So, and I think it'll help tee up our readings today. And then I'm also going to tell a little story about patience that I think will help tee up the topic and the combined topic and intersection of trust and patience. So I'm going to read from Cloud's book first. Quote, I see and hear of situations in which caregivers, with the best of intentions in mind, will do or say things that unnecessarily jeopardize the dignity of the person in their care, and in the process, the trust of the relationship between caregiver and person living with dementia. In caregiving, you need the person in your care to want to work with you. In order to do so, they will need to feel secure in your care. And the key to that security is trust. And Gerry, the second story comes from the virtual dementia tour that we did this week for the sheriff's department, local sheriff's department. And you're familiar with the VDT. It's a simulation, a dementia simulation. And this is considered training for the deputies and the officers in the sheriff's department. And the story takes place, it happened during the debrief. So there's a debrief for each one of the officers. And during the debrief, he was asked, what would you take away from your experience in terms of this virtual dementia tour into the field? What did you learn? And he paused and he was very thoughtful. And what he said was, what I'm going to take away is the need for patience. So imagine a deputy or an officer responding in the field. He said, what happens is, first of all, you don't necessarily know what you're walking into. It can be fraught with danger for both parties. And he said the inclination is on giving an order when they first arrive and establishing their ground, so to speak, that it often escalates. If it's not understood, if the order's not understood, the tendency and the instinct is to just talk louder, and bad things can happen from there. So it was so interesting to me that he said the one thing that he's going to take away, or the major thing he's taking away, is patience. So I think that leads us into our readings today, Gerry, if that's okay with you.
Yes, absolutely. Before you go to the reading, just a comment.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
beautiful. I wish we could bottle that, because patience leads to what Cloud's talking about is trust. They go hand in hand, don't they?
Absolutely. And thus the topic today, the intersection between trust and
Yes.
patience.
Yes.
So, okay, so the first reading is on page 49 of your book. Maybe I'm just human. Maybe I'm just human after all. And before you read that, I've got to ask. So the poem title seems to me like a statement of resignation. Why didn't you leave it at, maybe I'm just human? Why did you add in, maybe I'm just human after all, with the emphasis?
Thank you for the question, Bruce. I did not see it then on February 17th, 2021, when I wrote the story. I did not see it. And maybe I'm just human. Maybe I'm just human after all, as a statement of resignation. No, 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 no. A statement of resignation means to me an act of giving up. That's not me. As you listen to Maybe I'm Just Human, it's filled with what I believe is self reflection. Can I still deal with it? Deal with impatience. There's that word, frustration, exhaustion. And this really is a reflection back to a point in time during this process where I stop and I reflect and say, where am I? As I chronicle 24/7, the original concept was that I was losing my wife. I had to do something to make to make me a better care partner. And that's what I believe this reflection is. It's an important touch point, a bit of reality. Bruce, so to me, it's reflection. It's definitely not resignation.
Right.
Can I go to
And
page 49, Bruce?
yes, would you please? Yeah, thank you.
Maybe I'm just human. Maybe I'm just human. Maybe I'm just human after all. I'm tired tonight, maybe physically. And by the way, this was written in February 17th, as I said earlier, 2021. I'm tired tonight, maybe physically, maybe emotionally. I'm tired tonight. It's cold these days, cold when popping out, then in and out again. It's cold outside. The last few days have been tough. In the car for 2 hours in the morning and then 2 hours in the afternoon. And then Jean, I know where it is, just over there. Think that way. Stay calm, check my emotions, cleansing breaths, deep ones, stay in the game, Gerry. Say it, repeat it, lost, frustrated, confused. Here I'm calming myself with the recognition of the need to be patient. I've been good for days now. I can see it coming, ahead of it, on top of it, and I'm proud of it. I gave her an extra pill today, calm her down, take her edge off, even her behavior out. And soon she slept, and I loved it. Made myself lunch, put some background music on, read my book for over 2 hours, loved it. But get ready, awake now. And then I got to go. Go where? Got to go. And so we're off. 7 times this day, out, then in and out again. Once in the car, don't you know where to go? Why don't you know? Why are you no help to me? And finally, my emotions got to me. And I knew it. I knew it. It affected her. I knew it. Why are you so mad at me? I'm going by myself. Let me find Gerry. That would be good. Think he is here. Think so. Let me see. I sometimes leave, then reappear as Gerry. And she feels comfortable with Gerry. Trust Gerry. And so I did. I walked outside, cleansing breaths, calmed down. Oh, hi, I'm Gerry. I know I'm happy you're here. Can you help me? Can you help me? Oh, you are always so nice. 4 times out again, then in and out again. I let her find her apartment that I recognized the smiling faces on the door that I placed there for recognition. Let her make the decision. Let her open the door, which I leave unlocked. Sometimes, like tonight, oh, this is it. Isn't it nice? I'll stay here tonight. Is that okay? And Bruce, as I go back to cloud, isn't this the ultimate to trust? The key to security is trust by saying, I'll stay here tonight. She's in bed now, happy, smiling, having taken her nightly pills, sipping her nightcap of wine, watching, listening, a tribute to Johnny Cash. Oh, I'm not pleased about today. I'm not pleased about what happened. Not pleased that my emotions got the best of me, but I'm content. I'm content. And this is hard for me. Maybe I've come to realize that maybe I'm just human. Maybe I'm just human after all. Bruce?
Yeah, thanks for that, Gerry. So I'm just thinking through this. I'm tired tonight, physically, emotionally. It's cold these days. The 7 times out, then in, then out again, once in the car. Don't you know where to go? I mean, that's I'm assuming Gene talking to you, right?
Yes.
And before I ask my question, I think I'm going to make a statement, and just you can tell me whether this is correct or not. A person with dementia is living in a different reality, right?
Yes.
And so often we're moved to, orient around our reality, and it's not their reality. So there's a whole process of validation that you go through with Gene, and it's so apparent in this poetry and this story that you've just told. And here's my question. This poem was written in 2021, as you said, some 7 years after Gene's diagnosis. You seem to have had what I'll call tremendous fortitude. Maybe it's endurance as a care partner to Gene up to this point, with the constant roller coaster, as you've described it, of caring for a loved one with dementia. So, and here's the question: is there such a thing as a breaking point for caregivers, given your circumstances?
You've posed this question beautifully because you've positioned it with maybe I'm just human. And I think that that's germane to our topic here. Maybe I'm just human. So let's answer the question. What is being human? To me, being human is having compassion, empathy for others. But there's a flip side of that, isn't there? Maybe more of an ugly side: impatience, exhaustion, anger, disgust, fear. Breaking points. As I've worked and met other people along my journey of reaching out, I do believe there are breaking points. I believe they exist. But Bruce, they are so personal, the ultimate of being personal. How awesome a decision, how difficult decision to deal with someone you love and make decisions about modification and major change in their life. Because ultimately, are we talking about a decision that takes a loved one to a nursing home, assisted living, memory care, or more of a regimented, methodical change, bringing in people from the outside, change the way of life? What an awesome task. What an awesome burdensome for people. But people go through it. People go through it. So breaking points exist, Bruce.
No, thank you, Gerry. Let's move on to reading number 2. It's on page 100. Adamant, defiant, stubborn.
This poem was written August 21st, and you think about the parallel that you're going to hear from some of the situations that existed with the first reading, which was back in February. Adamant, defiant, stubborn. Oh, wow. Not proud of myself. 5 to 6 hours walking the halls, walking outside, looking for mom and dad. Then I'll need to go home. I'll need to go to my house. Can you help me? Patience now becoming and working itself toward more impatience. Time and time again, at first, as always, a reasoning comment, then or back to me and out the door. Signs were early today. I could feel it, an uneasiness, an unrestlessness early in the day. Even 3 calls from Stephanie, my daughter, to her mom, indicating, I'm on vacation. I'll be home next week. Nope, that didn't work. Problem, she didn't remember the call or calls, but always the plea. Can you help me? And then, that was not my mom. She's here. I just saw her. Oh, and my dad, he's outside also. And of course, they've been gone for many years. No, your mom was on vacation, I would say. Be back next week. In, out, close the door, then open the door again, following her as she looks and looks. She's zoned out, just out. Of course, nothing rational going on. Again, can you help me? Why aren't you helping me? I'm telling you the truth. They are on vacation. Exasperation, frustration, body language, tone from me and from her, and then threatening words. Everything I know not to do. Even my cleansing breaths, my emotional prep of repeating, lost, frustrated, confused, and any other emotional psyche tricks all failed. Notice the impatience now becoming frustration. Our poor neighbor and great friend Eileen, exasperated as her interaction with Jean as she had prepared a beautiful dinner. Jean, I'm not serving it if you're walking around. And then Jean said, no, I'm tired. Yet at the same time, then she proceeded to say, I need to go home. Then went out to reach to see where to go and to walk around. As ugly as I can remember, she is now getting into pajamas, totally different demeanor, totally different sound in her voice. And we're talking again, low voice, no edge. Just brought in her favorite non-alcoholic wine and her favorite chocolate chip cookies, and Neil Young singing at the Ryman in the background. Yes, the old Jean, but to be fair, the old Gerry. One of those bad days, perhaps, the kind that makes one wonder, if this behavior persists day after day, she'll wear me out. Jean, always the stamina of a wild tiger. So reflection tells me how fast things can flip out. Although I know it can happen, when it happens, I got to be better prepared. My new behavior possibilities were early in the day, but I did nothing to prepare. How dumb. And reflection tells me something I already knew, totally reinforced today, adamant, defiant, and that Gerry Roth stubborn streak. Powerful stuff, powerful stuff. And the neat thing also about this, Bruce, is that it's a recognition that she's still there. Jean is still there, even going through the issues of that particular day and the days surrounding. She's there, adamant, stubborn, defiant. I'm so pleased to see it.
She's still there. Needs, emotions, the will that exists, the stamina of the tiger. Cognitively, we've changed, but those things still exist. So thank you for pointing that out. Exasperation, frustration, body language, tone, threatening words, everything I know not to do. Everything I know not to do. Man, I tell you, I experienced it at a much different level than you. The intensity of your interactions, as opposed to what I went through with my mom as a son who was removed by geography,
Yes.
but certainly not emotion and involvement with my mom. And yeah, the times I lost it, or the things I regret after the fact, and we can talk about regret in another time, for how I behaved, not knowing. You seem to have known, and every once in a while things get off of kilter, and you know not to do it, but it happens for you, and you've lost it too many times. So you admonish yourself later in the poem, got to be better prepared, got to be better prepared. Can you really be better prepared? And what does being better prepared really mean?
Yeah, Bruce, being better prepared means, and I've used this word before, anticipation. Let me just go back and touch on the story I've just read. As ugly as I can remember this is in August 21, and I've been recording stories for a year now. August 21, as ugly as I can remember, but there were other days it was ugly also. And then a totally different demeanor, a totally different type of dementia. The old Jean, but to be fair, the old Gerry. I need to point out that we moved in this story from, and you mentioned it, exasperation, frustration, impatience to patience to trust. We did that cycle. And one needs to be ready for that. At least I felt I had to be ready for that. And that's what my goal was. That's what I was looking for. Anticipation also means you're always on stage. You're always on stage. So that was my preparation. The recognition of always being on stage, that emotional roller coaster that we talked about. What I learned as we talked about this some podcasts ago, I felt I had to be there for Jean. I had to take her hand. I had to be there on the roller coaster. Because one day it'll come down, one time it'll come down, and it was critically important that I be there to hold her hand. That's what this was all about. And remember, before I started to recognize the need for anticipation to get in front of it, I felt I was losing my wife. And we go back to why I was writing these stories to begin with, to be a better care partner. But being a better care partner Just because there isn't a book that says this is the way you do it. It's a lot of feel, it's a lot of recognition, it's a lot of education, it's a lot of talking to yourself because no one does it the same way. And there's no issue of Alzheimer's and dementia that's the same way. So my role to try to be with it, to try and be in front of it. And that's how I need to continue to prepare myself, Bruce.
And by the way, being on stage, so I'm reminded of the Dad's Garage presenting
Yes,
at the Northeast Georgia
yes,
Dementia Symposium last year, improv for improving care. And it was really based on person-centered care, right? Know the person,
yes.
meet the person where they are, and then improv takes you from there. And it was fascinating. And I'm hoping those of you who are listening, and I'm hoping they make a repeat appearance, frankly, this year. It was so inspiring. And if not, I'm wondering if there's another way to convey that to people in terms of what they shared. But so thank you for that. I'm going to ask you to go on to reading number three.
Sure.
I told you before. It's on page 30, and this was written a little bit before everything else. So it was in December of 2020.
This was actually written December 20th, 2020. So although I started to write in August of 2020, as you mentioned, this was pretty early. I was starting to get in touch with the recognition of behavior change and what was happening. Although I knew I was writing because I had to be in front of it, there's some real changes that were occurring, changes that occurred through recognition through the Alzheimer's Association and learning about the movement through the different steps of Alzheimer's. So a clear recognition at the beginning, and I think you'll hear it and feel it. I told you before, why am I so angry? Why am I so annoyed? Why am I so afraid to the core? Maybe it's because everything seems fine, and then the switch flips, and not so fine. Maybe I'm tired trying to understand gibberish and incoherent thoughts. Maybe I'm tired of trying so hard, listening to the words to try and understand, but I can't make them out. Sometimes not a word, and good luck with connection of thought. I told you before, why don't you understand? This was in December of 2020. We heard this again in August of 2021. Why don't you understand? It's frustration I see in her and also in me. And it goes on and it goes on. It ends, I don't know when, but something triggers it then. Trying to find the mystery or clue, I must practice my discipline, my patience with all, put my frustrations aside. I sometimes get angry, sometimes annoyed, sometimes get afraid to the core. I must try harder, recognize it coming, stay strong with commitment, dig deeper if I can, and think of how difficult it is for the other side. And here I am, once again, recognizing how hard this is for Jean, how brave she is, how brave she is, how the recognition of my love, which you have asked in the past, it continues. It's a recognition of Jean being brave, being strong to a point where I never even understood. And Bruce, you mentioned VDT tours. When I went through the virtual dementia tour, which by the way is a simulation of someone going through Alzheimer's and having Alzheimer's, as I went through this simulation and didn't understand the directions they were giving me, when I said, I don't understand, then I realized, well, that's what it's all about. I said, how brave my wife. Wow, how brave. And then I got mad at myself because I didn't understand the dimension of what we were talking about. How brave, how brave.
Trying to find the mystery or a clue. It all comes down to really what you've described as maybe I'm just human after all. The phenomenology of the human life, right?
Yeah.
How we connect, how we love, how we support each other, and to some extent, it is a mystery. And early on, I know, at least I've heard in terms of caregivers and persons with dementia, especially loved ones, that there are promises that are made. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to always be here for you. I'm going to always care for you. Does there come a time when the well runs dry? You just can't dig any deeper, and you need to acknowledge how difficult it is for both of you, right? It's not just you; it's you and Jean.
we're getting to what we talked about earlier, is we talked about breaking points. When is it time? When is it time to recognize that you have to reach out and ask for help? And I talked about how difficult that is. It was difficult for me, yet I didn't think I was ready, but I knew I had to be ready. And I think what we're talking about, Bruce, is moving into next time's conversation about when is the time. And I think that's going to be a fulfilling podcast. And
Gerry, thank you so much for being here as always. I find myself informed, inspired, and a better person for exploring these topics. And I think that goes across everything I've run into in terms of training and dementia awareness, is that it makes me a better person in general in terms of how to communicate with people. So thank you so much for what you've done. Looking forward to our next discussion, and we'll talk then. Thanks, Gerry.
thank you, Bruce, very much. Looking forward to the next session.
Beyond Dementia Coalition is on a quest to close the dementia preparedness gap we face. To get there, we sure could use your support as a donor or a volunteer. To get involved, please go to beyonddementiacoalition.org. All donations are tax deductible, and be sure to subscribe to our mailing list to receive our monthly newsletter in your inbox, where we'll share new podcasts, fact sheets, webinars, blogs, and other dementia-related content. This is Dementia Air. See the person beyond the disease.